What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of Big Men on Basketball. It is Thursday, December 29th, 2022. We are wrapping up the year that was. We got a couple days left. But before we do that, we got sports to get into. We got basketball to cover. We got a huge mid-major card tonight. Are there marquee games? No. But there's a lot of games, and that's all we need as gamblers. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. I'm your host, Jeff Data. We are here live on the Barstool Sportsbook YouTube channel. Before we get into anything, I do want to remind all of you, tomorrow, Friday evening, the Barstool Bowl is live in Arizona, Ohio, out of the MAC, Wyoming, out of the Mountain West, Dave Portnoy, Big Cat, all the people out in Arizona will have you the game live, Barstool.tv. If it's any indication of what the invitational was in Philadelphia, we are in for a treat tomorrow evening with the bowl game. So make sure you check that out, Barstool.tv. Jim Root is here live as he is usually on a Thursday. Jim, we got a lot of mid-major games to get to today. And I've said on Twitter, I love a game in college football and I love a game in college basketball. How you doing? Good to see you.
Oh, man, it's great. I kind of love this kind of a day. There aren't these marquee games that people are super excited about, but there's a lot of games to get into. Usually means a lot of value on the board. We'll see how that pans out at the end of the day. But I enter the day feeling a lot of excitement.
Agreed. Drop your questions in the chat. We're going to hit them hard late at the end, just kind of rapid fire. I do want to shout out that team behind you. Shout out to the Missouri Tigers. That was a winner I had last night. I didn't have a lot of them, but that was a winner last night for me. Missouri got it done in I thought it was a great matchup for them against Kentucky. Kentucky continues to struggle in transition. That is something that they're having issues with. I identified that to me as a bit of a problem, and it was a problem for them last night. That said, last time we were on the show, I'm going to talk about a group today that we've kind of been down the road with, which we'll get into, and I actually want to start out with here. But how's the week been? It's still kind of a weird week. You still have certain teams playing non-conference. You have, like, I saw Toledo today is playing something called Lords, whatever that is. I don't know what that is. Then you have Central Michigan playing Michigan. You got, who, by the way, remember, Michigan struggled against a directional team this year already. Remember Eastern Michigan earlier this season. Purdue is playing Florida A&M. You got Ohio State playing Bethune-Cookman. And then you have the matchups where you have, conference games as well. So still a little bit of nonsense going on. But next week, you're finally into conference play, and then it's conference play to the end of the year.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about trying to figure out motivation next week. It's conference. It's big time for everybody. And then one thing I'm trying to figure out, and this is kind of a yearly dilemma of how much do teams go back a little bit towards preseason priors as league play starts, where if they really tanked in the non-con or they played way over their heads, do they kind of come back to the level, maybe not where I expected, but at least above or below maybe the level they had reached. So I'm kind of looking for spots like that as well as league play starts.
Yeah, I know for me, I have, like I said, I have a game tonight we'll get to kind of right off the bat that I really think is a great spot tonight. So let's say we jump into it. What we're going to kind of do, guys, until we kind of get into a deeper schedule, I'm going to try to keep these to about 30 minutes. So let's just fire in. Let's get right into it. I will get to a bowl game at the end. I'm going to talk Florida State, Oklahoma tonight. I think you have a great side there. But I want to start with college hoops. And I want to start with these clowns, Western Kentucky, who I believe last week we were on the show and we said, oh, this is an easy cover. They got a game here that they should be able to cover. I mean, they're playing who are they playing? I'm trying to remember.
Was it South Carolina last week?
Yeah, South Carolina. That's right. And I'm trying to remember. Yeah, they lost the game outright. That's right. Yeah. They were like 4-point favorites, and we're thinking, all right, well, I don't think they were 2.5-point favorites, I think. And they lose the game outright. Just a total clown show, this team. Why are they laying 6.5 to anybody? I mean, I'm trying to understand this. I mean, you look at over. Now I'm just going to bring up essentially the last 5 years of games that they're favored in, right? There were 93. I think it was 6 years. 93 games they've been a favorite in. They're 40-53 against the spread as a favorite. Sub 40%, essentially. Rice is not a very good team, and I will admit I kind of like the over in this game a little bit. Rice is a team that's had major problems guarding West Kentucky over the last couple of seasons. This is a dynamic West Kentucky offense, but just not a very good team as far as they play down a competition. They're not very good on defense. I kind of like the over, but I kind of just thought Do you just kind of fade? How can you bet West Kentucky as a favorite? I don't.
I don't want to. They're bad as a favorite. I was going to try to pull up the numbers, but I think when you make that like a favorite of 5 or more, where it's not really pick or just winning the game, like they get even worse. And you mentioned Rice struggling to deal with their athleticism in the past. I do think that's an issue, but I just don't trust WKU laying points here. I think this is a decent money line shot too, because they have a tendency to lose outright when they're laying points like this. And Rice is a really high variance team. They take a lot of threes. If they make a bunch and WKU's not engaged defensively, boom, you have potentially the over and an outright winner of probably something like plus 200. And we like those. We like plus 200. Yeah, that'd be great.
I think it's 210. And remember, this is a team right now that is losing to bad basketball teams. They're losing to Louisville. They're losing to South Carolina. And here's what Rice is going to do. They're going to let both these teams going to play with some pace. Rice will let you kind of get up and down if you want. And I think there's going to be past offense for Western here, but I just don't trust them on defense. I kind of felt like this was first to 75 wins, maybe like a 79, 75 type of game. But yeah, I think you have to very much tread lightly. West Kentucky is not to be trusted in laying points at all. Okay.
Yep.
You want to back this team as a dog, and that's it. If even then.
I just pulled it up last 30 as a favorite of 5 or more. They're 12 and 18 against the spread. So 40%. Like that's you want to be on the side of 60%.
Just a disaster. Just a disaster. Somebody says he sucked on those St. John's and Mississippi State. Well, listen, I'll tell you right now, if those aren't the kind of games you want to bet, you shouldn't watch this show, because I'm going to be betting a lot of those situations all year. Short road dogs on paper that should be bigger dogs, and they're not. It didn't work out yesterday, but I'll gladly be playing that all year. Jim, you know better than me that short, either short home favorites or short home dogs in conference play generally get the job done. So when you have, let's say, an Alabama going into a Mississippi State, always taking a dog at home is always going to generally be the play. And there's times where they'll even be favorites. That is a long-term strategy that will win. It didn't win yesterday, but it will be something long-term, I bet, and that's how I gamble.
Yeah, you pick out those two that didn't work out, but like LSU won outright, Mizzou won outright. Like the home court plays up in those situations. And if you're going to go through a season where there's 5,000 games and cherry pick a couple of results, everybody's going to have losers. I bet on Iowa last week. They lost to Eastern Illinois outright. Like it happens. You just kind of keep plugging.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, we say this night after night. I mean, no one will bring up the fact that I told you guys UCF would stay way under the number yesterday. Listen, guys, I don't worry too much about results. It's a long-term season thing. If that's the kind of way you gamble, I just don't think you're going to last very long doing this. Quickly, Iowa, Nebraska, that's not on my outline. I have no interest in either of these teams. If anything, I lean Nebraska. I just don't think Iowa's very well coached. I think defensively they stink as usual. And I don't think they're as dynamic offensively as they've been in years past. I know you guys have talked about that. Murray's great, but he's been in and out of the lineup. I don't really like anyone on this team outside of that. They should be getting players back, which will help. And this could be one of those circle the drain types of games where you were just very much embarrassed at home. But I have no interest here.
Yeah, it should be motivated, and we'll see what they get out of Murray and McCaffrey with those guys back. But because I don't know how healthy they'll be and how long they'll play, it's hard to give a strong recommendation there.
Let's get back to this outline here. I want to get into this one. This is interesting. Youngstown State and Cleveland State. Youngstown State's one of the better ATS teams in America. They've been a great over team. They've been a great team laying points, getting points against the spread. Cleveland State, this is a game where last year you don't worry much about results with these teams because Cleveland State is a totally different team than they were under Dennis Gates, who's now at Missouri. They're much slower this year, play one of the slowest tempos in America, not a very good offensive team. And that was one of the reasons this total was 140.5. That said, I've noticed Cleveland State, when having to play teams that definitely want to turn up the tempo or are good offensively, i.e. Detroit Mercy, teams like that, Cleveland State has played pretty high. I've kind of talked all year. I love Youngstown. I think they're very good. I think they're a legit offensive team. Maybe a little poor on the defensive end. Do you just kind of assume that if a total's in the 140s with Youngstown, you have to lean over the number because they're going to get into the 80s a lot of the time?
Yeah, they have the wonderful combo of play super fast and way better offensively than defensively. So, like, you're getting possessions and potentially efficiency. That's fantastic. Sometimes it feels harder to speed up a slow team than it is slow down a fast team. Mm-hmm. So that dynamic is at play here. But Youngstown at home, it's actually, I think, kind of a sneaky good home floor there, despite it's an in-state rivalry. I kind of think Youngstown's a decent play. I know some people or a guy associated with the program preseason that was like, trust me, I like this team is legitimate, and I wish I'd listened because they're 7-4 against the spread, and that would have been some free money at this point.
I think they're even better to the over. I think they're 9-1 to the over this year. I could be wrong in line games that they've had. They've had a couple against non-Division I teams, but this is a very good offense. 54th nationally in adjusted efficiency. Now, look, granted, they have not played a great schedule. You look at it though; they put up 81 against Notre Dame. That's a pretty good result there. And against teams they should put up points against, they've done it. This is, again, a real clash in styles. One team wants to kind of go up tempo, play a little bit faster, very good on offense. One thing I love about Youngstown as well, and again, what do we know about this, Jim? Free throws. Youngstown at nearly 80%, covering a lot of numbers as a favorite. I look at case in point today, Jim Root. Wagner University was an 8.5-point favorite against LIU, one of the worst teams in America. They won by 8 as 8.5-point favorites. They were 11 for 20 from the free throw line. Stuff you have to look at a box score level. That is the difference between winning and losing, guys. It just is. Yeah. You can't win betting on bad free throw shooting teams. Now, to me, again, I'm leaning Youngstown, leaning over here. But to me, I think Youngstown's the play for sure.
Yep.
Let's go to the next game here on our outline. And this is a game that I have played. It's my favorite play on the board. I am playing the under in this game. North Texas, FAU. And we just talked about clash in styles. FAU, very herky-jerky, want to go up and down. But North Texas, they're at home here. They generally make you do what they want to do, not you do what you want to do. That's not how it really works with North Texas. They are plodding. They are slow, one of the slowest teams you're going to find in America. They want to make you play half court, half court, half court. And you look at this matchup over the last 5, 4 have went under the number. In fact, most of them have been under 120 a lot of the time. A lot of 60, 54 type of games here. I told everyone yesterday, I felt like Wichita UCF was first to 60 wins. It's first to 51. I think this is a rough game to watch. I think when I look at these teams, I love Perry. He's a terrific player for North Texas, but this is a team that just very much struggles at times to score offensively. I think this is a typical knockdown, drag-out affair between two good CUSA teams. I think these are the two best CUSA teams. I think this is first to 60 wins, if that.
Yeah, it's going to be a grind. North Texas, I talked to their coach in the preseason for our preseason magazine we worked on, and he's like, I think we might speed it up a little this year. We lost a couple good defenders, and we got more offensive players. And yeah, that was blowing smoke a little bit. They're the slowest offensive team in the country, so nothing changed there. They just know they're better at the half-court execution than you are, so they drag you into that. And like we talked about with dictating pace, it's really hard to speed up a team that is dead set on slowing it down. The second they get the ball, they just hold it, and they walk it up, get over the half-court line at like 22 seconds on the shot clock, and they whittle it down. That's what North Texas will do, and as much as I love FAU, and they're super well coached too, Dusty May does a great job, it's just hard to speed up North Texas. So I would lean that way in the total. It does feel like it's going to be a grind. I'm curious if FAU gets the statement when they need for an at-large bid, but it's more, I think the total is probably the better look.
You look at this one last season, very similar paced FAU team last year, 54-51. This game with 3.5 minutes to go in the first half is 23-15. Okay, that's the kind of game you're going to have here. I see a lot of, and as you said, you look at the possession length for North Texas. Average possession length per second is 22.1 seconds, which essentially means that, 8, 7, 6 in the shot clock. And again, a lot of the time you're missing the shot. So it just, these games go very quick. The only thing that's going to hurt this game is, you know how these games work, Jim, right? You want this game with a minute to go to be 54-53. That's what you want here. You do not want this game to be 60-52, because what you're going to have that lead to, stupid fouls. Uncontested layups at the other end. Possibly you're dealing with overtime occasionally, but I'm just hoping this one kind of goes the way I want it to go. And, they haven't generally done that this year for me, but I like 123.5. I think it's a pretty good number. I'm glad this isn't like 117, right? This can be 62-59. I get a winner here. So I'm going to rock with that here. I like that play tonight. I trust these two teams on the defensive end. And look, shout out to shout out to FAU. They've been pretty damn solid defensively. 54th nationally in efficiency. Was that surprising to you? It was surprising to me.
It's a little bit surprising because they're pretty small. Again, I did this conference for our preseason magazine, and May was like, we're going to have to find ways to defend because we're going to be small at basically every spot except center. They figured it out. I mean, like you strip out preseason stuff from Bart Torvik, or you look at the net, they're like a top 15 team. They've been unbelievable so far this year, and part of that's on the defensive end.
And remember, they're not playing nobody. Florida, Mississippi, Bryant, a very good offensive. Eastern Michigan put up a ton of points against Michigan. This is a pretty good schedule they played here. Let's go to the next one here. I wanted to throw this one in. How does this game not see 80 apiece? I mean, Georgetown literally doesn't guard anybody.
So bad.
I mean, this team is giving up on that end and actually are pretty good on offense. DePaul has definitely fallen by the wayside lately on offense, but they're still capable of this being like a 92-77 game or something. I just wanted to kind of mention it. I also will say, I mean, if you ask these teams, who's playing better right now? It's got to be Georgetown. No, I mean, DePaul has been a disaster. I don't know what happened to this team on offense, but this is a good team to bounce back against, isn't it?
Yeah, and at least Georgetown competed at UConn. Like very few teams have competed with UConn, and Georgetown actually showed up for that one. Now, I worry that there's some like incentive issues with them where they see the number one team in the country or number two, whatever UConn was, and they show up. Now they see DePaul and they're like, whatever, and they kind of lollygag into here. My one concern with the over would be that Yornay is back out there for DePaul, and he's an actual shot blocker, can kind of protect the rim, but that's minor. It's going to be a track meet up and down. And like you said, Georgetown is so disinterested defensively. I think they'll be really disinterested today. It should be kind of a layup line on both ends.
Yeah. Also, when you play DePaul, you have to very much worry about if they're not making shots from three, they may not score 60. Okay. They're shooting a lot of threes, very 3-point dependent from a distribution standpoint. They have some good shooters, but occasionally, luckily they're at home here, which is good. But I didn't get there with this one. I just kind of thought it was interesting. This game kind of screams 81-79 to me. So I had a hard time even laying points with any of these two teams. These are two teams that scream close game, high scoring. Another game in the Big East, Butler and Providence. Saw a lot of Butler love today, and not just people in media, guys like yourself. I saw a lot of smart people taking Butler. This number at last night was 1. Look, guys, if you like something the night before, you should bet it because a lot of the time you're going to lose these numbers. Providence is simple to me. At home, I'm interested. On the road, I'm not. And I'm really not interested at Butler, who I think is significantly better than they've been in years past. They're finally healthy again. Always seems like someone's out with them, but they seem to be good to go right now. Manny Bates has been a problem against a Providence team I don't love in the front court. Again, pretty simple. At home, I like Providence. On the road, I don't. I think Butler gets a good win tonight.
Yeah, I love Butler here. I did bet that -1 last night. Got a pretty solid number, but I would still take at that 2.5 if it's out there for you. I just think this spot sets up really well for them. They had the at Creighton when Creighton got Kalkbrenner back. That's a pretty brutal one. They weren't able to compete with UConn when they were shorthanded. So that was tough. Now, healthier at home, post-holidays, Providence on the road, like you mentioned. I'm a big fan of Butler today. Probably one of my favorite bets on the board.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of looking at this one and saying, well, again, I don't think anyone really trusts Providence away from home. And this is, again, a place where it is hard to go and win no matter who you are. I thought UConn had to kind of grind to get a win against them, at one point. By the way, UConn continues to answer the call. A lot of people had a question on Villanova yesterday. I wasn't really interested in betting against UConn, but nice cover by Villanova. They were able to hang around and keep that one close. But yeah, I agree with you on this one. I don't want to go much higher than this, but what do we see though in the Big East? Usually when a team wins, they win big.
Except Providence. If they win, it'll be close, but everybody else will actually pull away.
Yeah,
that's the one fears. The Providence kind of horseshoe in their close game scenarios. It's because they are well coached, but I see Butler being up by like a couple of possessions late here.
Interesting game, West Coast. I've talked about Pacific, their offense, right? I don't know how – obviously, there are so many teams. It's hard to keep track of every single one. What has happened with Jordan Ivy Curry in this team? I see him only playing like 18 minutes a game. Is that just because they're super deep? I mean, they have one of the deepest teams in America. But I saw the other night against it was that game I gave out on the Rico Bosco and I peace treaty video. They should have got to 80, and I should have hit that bet, but he didn't play that much. I guess it's just because they're so deep. I'm not really sure. I got a weird feeling, though, they get, pardon my French, fucking waxed in this game. Because BYU is way better than them. They're playing in some revenge here. And what do we know about BYU? Very good offensive team under Mark Pope. You guys have talked about this before. Mark Pope has made it very clear he wants to win by as many points as possible anytime he plays. He's very big about cover margins and those sorts of things. I get a feeling they lay it on Pacific. Pacific can't stop anybody. I think if you can get under 80 on a team total here with Brigham Young, I think you have to play it, no?
Yeah, I think the revenge angle matters a lot. Like, their season was kind of ruined last year by losing to Pacific at Pacific. It was this Q4 loss that their resume never recovered from. And I got to ask Randolph Childress on our After Dark, was like, does it matter when you lose to a team? Do you remember it the next year? And he's like, oh, yeah. The locker room is going to be motivated by that. You mentioned the Pope thing. Like, he knows how the analytics and the metrics work. You want to win by as many as you can. And Pacific's defense is brutal. They take some bad shots. I think BYU will take advantage of that, and they'll be able to score. They figured out their offensive pecking order with Rudy Williams going to the bench and being the spark plug guy. Yeah, I like BYU there. I don't have a big number edge, but the spot, and it just kind of screams Cougars to me.
Major problem in this game that I think is probably where this game goes haywire for Pacific. Pacific cannot rebound. Okay. Brigham Young is going to be all over the glass with some of their big boys, Traore and George and Waterman. I think they have a field day on the glass in this game. 49th in offensive rebound percentage. Pacific's in the 300s. That is not very big. They don't have that dynamic kids to get boards. Brigham Young looks pretty good in this game. As I said, Pacific can't stop anybody. All right. Brian Beck says, what do you think about San Francisco +3 against Santa Clara? I'm a big Sendek guy. I like Sendek a lot. I think this is a fun team. Another team in the West Coast Conference that I just don't really trust on defense, though. But they have some solid players, man. Pojemski's a terrific player. Badeko, Keyshawn Justice. What about this one? Kind of that inner Bay Area type of game.
Yeah, not a lot of travel. I think that matters a little bit for San Francisco, especially these West Coast teams. Like, being drivable versus a long flight, I think, is rather important given some of the flight troubles that have been going around the country this week. But not a lot strong for me there. I kind of like both teams. I think they're both tentatively more buy for me than sell. San Francisco's on fire lately. They blew out Arizona State. They blew out Hartford coming across the country. So maybe a slight lean towards the Dons, but again, I kind of like both those squads.
Interesting one in the CAA. Delaware Hofstra. Delaware hosting here. Aaron Estrada been in and out of the lineup. He did not play the other night against Old Westbury, whatever that is. Do we see him back tonight, you think?
My perception was he played all 40 at South Florida. And then they were like, all right, non-D1, we'll rest him for conference play coming up. I bet he's out there and plays like 35-plus minutes.
And what do you have here in this game? You have two teams. I mean, we know Hofstra, very pick and roll, reliant. Delaware, couple good guards, including, if you want to feel old, Jameer Nelson. I remember watching him in high school. That's how far I go back. I feel weird saying how far I go back. That's crazy. I feel like this is a fun game. Your first of 75 wins. You're probably close, but I give the edge. I think Delaware is pretty tough, man. That's a tough little team right there. They've been playing some pretty good basketball outside of the Ohio game.
Yeah, I think both teams really struggle to stop the other. Like, I don't know if Delaware can handle that pick and roll attack with Estrada, but then Jair Davis inside could have a total field day against a relatively soft interior for Hofstra. So efficiency-wise, would maybe lean over. I don't have an angle on the pace in that one, but I think both teams should be able to score relatively at will.
You look at the two games last year, 82-77, 80-66. Delaware lost both games. Some revenge here, but both got to 146 or more. You got a total tonight, 146.5. These two teams are decent defensively, at least number-wise. I think that bodes poorly tonight. I think they get beat up tonight defensively. I think that's a good one there. Someone's asking about this game with Memphis, South Florida. I would have leaned under at 142. It's been bet down, though. South Florida can't score. South Florida's a mess. Memphis is really good on defense. I don't love them outside of Kendrick Davis, but they could win this game, 80-65 or something. I could see them kind of doing what they want. I would look towards South Florida team total under. If I would play anything here, I think Memphis is pretty legit on defense.
Yeah, I kind of buy that angle. They should be a little healthier too. They sat a bunch of guys last game. Memphis did. I think 3 rotation guys against Alabama State. They just let them rest. So hopefully more energized, really solid defensively. And yeah, South Florida problems offensively. And Jeff, I know you harp on this. They're a terrible free throw shooting team. Yeah. And Memphis, their weakness maybe is fouling, but if you can't punish them for it, then it's not a problem.
Someone asking about Florida A&M Purdue. So here's the thing for Purdue. This is interesting. So last game out, we mentioned this. New Orleans, probably the worst 2-point defense in America outside of Houston Christian. You didn't have Zach Edey. That was 8 days ago. Do you kind of throw Edey out there for 15 minutes tonight that he's good to go and you get 12, 15 points out of him and you're up 40 in this game? Florida A&M is got the potential as the worst offensive team in America, quite honestly. Would I play the team total here with – what's the thought on Edey? I haven't really looked into it. I just kind of assume he'll be fine. They start their conference play next week. Do you play him tonight for 15 minutes in this game just to get some wind under him?
Yeah, I think so, because it was illness. It wasn't like an ankle that he could aggravate. So I think he'll be fine and probably goes for 25 and 14 in 15 minutes.
Is this a game you just say – I think the number, it's 35 in this game? This is one of those games to me where I said this last week. We didn't get Edey, which kind of screwed us. But I think Purdue can roll the ball out there and score 90, right? I might just lay it first half full game there.
It feels a little like the UConn-LIU game where it was like a 40-point spread and UConn won by 57 or whatever.
Right. Put up one.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. They can score as many points as they want to. Just how much do they want to? We'll find out. I have a feeling Florida A&M has some quit factor in them too. If they get down by 30, they'll just be like, whatever. It's almost SWAC time. Let's get to that.
Yeah. Florida A&M is, you look at this schedule. It's pretty sad what these SWAC teams and MEAC teams have to do. But Jacob Schweiderman as the wrong team favorite with Oakland. Yeah, I don't think Oakland should really be a favorite against anybody, but these are 2 pretty bad teams, for being honest. Oakland stinks. I don't really buy much into Milwaukee. They haven't had much of a schedule to really deal. Maybe over. This seems first to 80 wins. Oakland can't stop anybody.
Yeah, Oakland's been weird last couple of years. It seems like Campy's really been using non-conference to tinker, find lineups, try out his own defense, and they've been better against the spread in league play. Maybe they'll be a little better with Jalen Moore, slightly healthier. They're like all conference caliber point guard. We'll see. There's a chance they're buy low, but they were so bad in non-con. I'm not really anxious to find out right away.
I wouldn't play this because I'd worry that Purdue might score 90. That's the problem there. Yeah. I would just lay the number. I think Florida A&M may not get to 50 in this game. Zach Edey, if he played 40 minutes, might score 50 in this game. But I don't think it's necessary. By the way, stop.
I just got the notification he's officially starting. Edey is starting.
Okay, there you go. This is ridiculous. Stop, Billy Butcher. Seriously. He's not being fired. Okay, it's not happening. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of schools that would take him. I don't know if it's like both sides need a change of pace or whatever, but he's in a funk right now, but I think they'll be fine. And
listen, I did call Missouri a fraud because they had been a shitty scheduled team, and then they went and played Kansas and got wrecked. At that game,
I think I said they're a fraud after the Kansas game too.
So, and then they went in and beat up Illinois, and then they won last night. I like Mizzou. I just said what was true. They were a fraud. It's like a horse. If a horse beats up on bad competition at shitty stakes and then goes up and gets dominated and loses in his last place, that's a fraud horse.
It's like LSU. I was calling kind of a fraud too until last night they beat Arkansas. I was wrong, I guess, and it happens. Sometimes you just need to validate yourself.
Yeah, this is all like week to week, right? So it's like you say something and it happens. I knew you sucked at this. It's like, well, no, it just weeks change. One more here quickly. Do you have any opinion on Drake Valpo? Valpo stinks.
Yeah, they do.
Valpo's real bad. I like Drake. This is not really a line profile that you really see much from them. Remember that one year they covered like 20 games in a row, like 2 years ago?
That was great. They were like a national story because they were started the year like 18-0 against the spread. It was crazy.
And you look at this team and they're all still there. Penn, Brody, Wilkins, Garrett Sturtz. I mean, it's a DeVry. It's crazy how these guys are all still there. But yeah, I think it's Drake or pass. It's not a line profile that I'm really looking to bet though.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Good stuff. Jim Root, good to see you as always. Like I said, I want to get you off here in about 30 minutes. Thanks as always for coming on. What do you got going on for New Year's? Anything special?
I think a buddy nearby is going to have a party. I prefer the house party on New Year's to the craziness of buying a ticket at a bar or whatever.
Yeah.
You get to hang out with the people you want to talk to, and it's a little more of an easier setting to get in and out of. So I'm actually pretty excited for it. What about you?
By the way, well, I'll be out as usual, but by the way, tomorrow night I'm going to watch the #1 team in Division II tomorrow night. I'm very excited. So I have a Division II team right by my house, 5 minutes away. IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, is the #1 team in America.
Did they play in the preseason? They play Syracuse or something?
Played Syracuse, played Miami. Actually played Syracuse pretty tight. I think it was like 80-68 or something. So yeah, I'm going to go see them. And yeah, Saturday night I'll go out. Absolutely. Definitely. Jim Root, good to see you. Catch Jim Root on Twitter at Second Chance Points on the 3-man weave. He's doing Field of 68, all this stuff with the great 3-man weave. Shout out to you, Jim. We'll see you next week, 2023. Take it easy.
Beautiful. Thanks for having me. See ya.
Yep. Good to see you. Later. Jim Root joining us live as he does on every Thursday. Before we go, I want to give you a football play tonight I was on and am on. I am on the Florida State Seminoles. Lay it. Lay it, lay it, lay it. And if you don't lay it, well, I don't care. I'm laying it. I've killed it in college football this year. Having a great season. Up into the double-digit unit-wise. I'm laying it. Florida State. I think this is a game where you have one team that really is all about the game and you have another team that just isn't. And I've learned that these teams who you look at Oklahoma, I mean, no grade tonight, going to be without a couple tackles on the offensive line. This defense stinks. I just don't think Oklahoma is very good. And I think Florida State, I've been really impressed with this team on defense. They're only giving up 20.5 points a game this season. This is a good defensive team. I love them on offense. They're going to have everybody in there tonight. Seems like Jordan Travis is really dialed in and usually plays well against good teams. I think this is one team that just really wants to be there and another team that's just going through the motions. I mean, think about Oklahoma. You go from being a top 4 team every season. Now what you're playing in, what's this game called? I don't even know what game this is. I think it's a Cheez-It Bowl. I could be wrong. What is this? Yeah, Cheez-It Bowl. They don't care about this game. I'm laying 9.5. 9.5. As I said, I've been very interested in playing against these types of teams that don't care. I will say, I know they won the game. Oregon's game plan last night was one of the worst game plans I've ever seen. How at halftime did you only throw the ball 9 times against that fucking secondary? Just running and I know they were pretty good running the football, but I don't know. I was kind of irritated with that game. The other game, I'll take it. That was a crazy win, improbable win. Kansas team total had no shot with like 3 minutes to go, and it was improbable. That was fun. That was a fun one. That's why I love not worrying about spread sometimes. As far as the other game, Washington, Texas, I think the over's to play probably. Maybe Washington team total. You're not going to have Overton tonight for Texas. He is their best defensive player. And I think generally when you lose the captain of your defense like that, you generally fold. I think Washington's solid. You look at as far as passing team, they've been great this season. Penix has been terrific. You look at the secondary, not a vintage Washington secondary. What a just ridiculous question this is. Oblivious much, TK? I mean, look at the top left corner, TK, and I'll tell you what book I use. Guys, come on. I got to ask sometimes. TK, I don't want to jump on you, but come on, man. I mean, seriously. Can you read, pal, or what? Thank you. Appreciate that. What do you think on Thursday Night Football? Well, listen, I mean, I'd love to see the Cowboys get their fucking teeth caved in, but I don't think it's going to happen. Not against Josh Dobbs. Not great. That might be the most hilarious question I've ever gotten on here. Truly. Yeah, he's my boss. Well, I don't give him my money. I give Barstool Sports my money. And yeah, he's my boss. But no, I don't give him my money. I think, TK, you're super oblivious to what actually goes on. Dave doesn't – it's not like when I bet it goes straight to Dave's bank account. That's not how it works. Dave, just like all of us, we all essentially work for Penn Gaming. So I don't know. You seem like you have an agenda, so whatever. Sorry, man. Yes, the dumb question. Under 123.5, North Texas. All right, I'm out of here, guys. I got to go work out. I hope you all have a nice day. And I'll see you next time. I thank you for watching. As I said, did I have no invite to Arizona? No, not everybody got invited. It is like a 6-hour flight. So no, not everyone was invited. Only the essential people that are involved in the broadcast are there, and then tech people. But no, most of Barstool doesn't go. Just as if, like Rough and Rowdy, not everybody goes. I would have loved to have went. You know, if I were asked, I would have considered going for sure. But my season's coming up, so I wouldn't say no invite. I'm sure I could have won. I'm sure I could have went if I wanted to, but no, I didn't go. Nadu crew rise up. What's up, Jay Daniel? Thanks for watching. Already talked about it. I have no interest in Providence tonight. All right, I'm out of here. You guys have a great evening. Thank you for watching. I will be back next time. I appreciate it. Tonight, I played Florida State in the bowl game, and I played under 123.5 North Texas and Florida Atlantic. Have a great evening. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.